Okay, hello, good evening, everyone. Andrea, Deborah, John, good evening, welcome to the classroom. Could you please check, first of all, I would like to check if we have a good connection. So could you please type if you can hear me, if everything is okay with sound. And in the beginning, actually, I'm gonna mute everyone just in case, because it's not gonna be, we'll see. Idea is that we are gonna be practicing as well. So we will check. Okay, you can hear me, perfect, John, perfect. And Andrea, Deborah, hopefully you could hear me also. You could find some chat opportunity for chat window and maybe type something just to check. Okay, you can hear me. Okay, perfect, Deborah. Thank you very much. Okay, great. Actually, it's time already, and I know that usually people are enthusiastically applying for webinars, but not going to be probably many people today, because from my experience, if we have like 20 something, so maybe there will be 5, 6, 7 people. We'll see. Okay, we're gonna start already. By the way, this particular topic last week, as you can see, there is a part 2. So we already covered partially material, but I think none of you were in the previous webinar. Is it correct? Could you please confirm if you were or not? I don't think so. I think Andrea, Deborah, John, I don't think you were. Yeah, okay. So in this case, I will be maybe repeating some of the material, because if you were not in the first part, so I will briefly guide you through the material which we covered last time. All right, finding the right structure for your coaching session. So that's going to be a topic, and it's part of the series. We call it NLP Coach series, because we'll be talking about certain particular patterns. We call it NLP patterns, neurolinguistic programming, and some of the patterns are very, very useful in terms of give us easy way to create structure during our coaching sessions. But before we go there, I would like just first of all to point your attention that would be nice if you eliminate all the disturbances potentially, so you could switch off your mobile phones and maybe close some of the programs, because I will try to make our session as interactive as possible. And I also I planned actually to have some practice as well. I think the best way to learn is actually put that stuff which we learn immediately into some practice, so we will remember it better, and we have already sense how it can be applied. So I hope you are gonna go for the practice today as well. And this particular webinar is a part of the Learning Practice Laboratory. I call it Headway Learning Practice Lab. We have 2 parts, business and coaching direction. So this one is the coaching direction, and all weekly webinars are free. So you're welcome. Next Thursday, the same time is going to be next one. You just need to follow the topics, and if it resonates, if you're interested, you're welcome. And there is another part which is not free. It's a monthly subscription, but it's a business-related webinars. Also with some home assignments. It's almost like practically business school, but with a monthly subscription. Yeah. So we are going today for actually the first question, almost like philosophical one. Do we need structure or not during coaching sessions? So we're going to discuss this, and then I will quickly review some patterns which we already covered last time. And today I was planning to go for another really powerful pattern, and which can be used in order to create structure in our coaching sessions. We call it well-informed outcome. And last time we covered several patterns, and including SCORE pattern. Yeah? So, but I will give a very kind of brief review of that material as well today. And yeah, that's going to be practical application after we cover the all theoretical material. I hope we are going to still have some time to practice. And by the way, if you have any questions, please, you're welcome to unmute your microphone and ask, or just type in our chat window, and I will answer if I can. So first of all, about do we need a structure or not? So I would like you to be engaged in that process. So let's think together and discuss what are the benefits for structured session. What do you think? Are there any positive points when we think about structured approach? If you can put it in words and verbalize it somehow, you're welcome to type. I'll give you maybe 1 minute. Structured. When we need structured session, and if we have it, what good about that? Provides direction. Okay, John, perfect. So there is when the session is structured, it gives sense that there is a direction, not just sense. Actually, that's the whole idea of the structure. It brings it moves clients to certain particular direction. That's true. Paces session and support clients effectively. Yeah, perfect. Okay, good. So as a result, the structure gives direction. And actually, well, there are clients. I mean, in my practice, I experience lots of different types of sessions, and I'm personally, I have my private clients, of course, but I also enrolled into the coaching circles for last 9 years. So I had lots of coaches and experienced lots of different styles. And Irene, good evening. Welcome to the classroom. So we are right now in a discussion. Actually, Irene, you were in the last previous webinar. So right now, actually, we are going through part of the material which I remember you covered last time. So, but you're welcome to participate. So the structured session. There are different types of clients. First of all, and some of the clients really enjoy when you take their hand and move them along certain particular process. So that's definitely gives some sense of direction, and that type of clients, they really enjoy to have structure. There are another types of clients which maybe are not so happy about very like overly structured session, but I think as a coach you could easily detect that kind of clients. And to be honest, what I often do, I actually hide the structure. So it can be still structured, but you don't need to like obviously move clients step by step. It still can be easy going conversation, but in your mind you have certain particular direction, because in your mind that structure keep you on track. I think that's the most important thing which I personally enjoy about structure. So it's you could dissolve it a little bit, you could make it more apparent, but for client, I would say we could create some variety for different types of clients. And let's think about, of course, it's free session, not free in terms of financial part of it. So it's not free financially. We are talking about free from structure. I'm sorry, I need to probably write it here differently. So what if we are if we are going for spontaneous or free from structure session? What kind of advantages would you write down? Try to think. Yeah, I'm sure that you experienced what free from structure session is. Can be client centered, follow their path. Yeah, okay. They are in the driving seat, and you are supporting them wherever they go. Yeah. So whatever direction they choose, you are with them. So they are leading. Flexibility. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. You are fully present because, yeah, exactly. You don't need to keep some second thoughts and okay, what's next, or what is the next point, or what is the next step. Exactly. And interact when needed. Okay, perfect. So you see there are almost like two sides of the coin, and the balance, where the balance is. So that the question, almost philosophical one, do we need structure? Well, I remember when I was I took my courses, coaching courses 9 years ago with the ITS, International Teaching Seminars. Ian McDermott was conducting the all the, not all, but part of the modules. And I remember one of the things when people are asking, Ian, what do you think? Shall I do this or that? And several times I heard Ian McDermott said yes. And that's pretty much my answer on the question that do we need structured session or kind of more spontaneous? I would say yes, because we're supposed to have both elements in place, and the dosage and the balance, where the balance is, could actually be different, even for, I mean, from client to client, even sometimes from session to session. I mean, that's probably during intake session I would discuss it with my client. And if my client is not quite sure what do I mean, several times I do that. I conduct one of the kind of really structured session, and then we discuss was it working good, or how my client feels about that. And some of the sessions I could conduct easily, like a free, completely spontaneous type of session. So we are going exactly like dancing, you know, wherever client goes, I am with him. And we'll see what. So as soon as your client experience both kind of extremes, we could easily discuss what do they prefer. I mean, I did it many times. It works very well, and actually, it's also developing your flexibility, because I think it's good to have both. And as I told you, very often, even in the free from structure sessions, I actually have a little bit on the back of my mind some kind of canvas, not precise one, but kind of, because I really would like to have session to start with something and finish with something. And as I told last time in the previous webinar, I mean, when we talk about structure, even if our sessions have two parts, let's say it's not really a structure, yeah, like two major parts. So what do you think? What kind of parts each session is supposed to have, more or less? So whatever coaching session you as a coach, whatever coaching session you have, usually it has at least two distinctive parts. Could you please type if you think what kind of parts do you think it's supposed to be? The first thing which you usually do when the client comes to you and the session just started, and the client usually state, yeah, the issue or problem, or if it's a sequence of sessions, so usually you know already the problem, but as a result, in the beginning, usually happens begin with the query, exactly, Deborah, how they want to. Yeah, the first thing is clarifying the goal of this particular session, because sometimes clients are bringing new aspects, so they want to focus on some particular element of the bigger issue, if it's a sequence of sessions. But in in any case, the first thing is investigating where they are. And after that, we also not jumping immediately to any kind of solution zone, not leading them anywhere. We are pacing them. So what usually we do in the first part, if we have like a very simplistic structure, first part and second. First part is clarifying where they are and pacing. Pacing, investigating more and more. What do they mean? Because when people even state their problems, it's not necessarily, you cannot rely on their words. It's not even clear what they mean by certain particular words. So you need to dig and dig and dig. Yeah, that's a pacing part. And yeah, house picking next session. Yeah, oh, exactly, perfect. And the second part, if we are talking about simplistic structure, anyway, after you clarified where the client is, after you investigated all interconnection of their mind map, then we will be slowly moving them towards the solution, or at least investigate some ways. Yeah. So the first part, pacing, second, leading. Yeah. That would be the simplest structure. Let's go ahead and see what kind of other structures. Several webinars before we covered this structure. So if you can see, again, I'm going to just go very briefly what was it, because it's not the topic of today's seminar, but I still want to spend several minutes describing this particular one. Let me just use my annotation tools. I think it's nice to draw, have some fun with drawing. Let me just, yeah, this one. So as you can see, generally, when client comes to a session, it means that there is a person who has certain particular issue. Yeah, the person is in that particular point. That's what I mean, where the client is. And obviously, the solution, or where the client would like to go, that's going to be outcome of your session or sequence of sessions. So if you see that particular structure, the person is there, but he would like to reach the area where there will be some outcome. So how the person could reach outcome? Obviously through some kind of action, usually any kind of, maybe it's certain particular behavior, maybe one way or another. There are ways, and usually it's the client supposed to generate or demonstrate certain particular behavior, yeah, in order to bring the outcome. As now we have already 3 parts, yeah, in that journey. And if you look at the top, now you have already quite interesting structure for your coaching session. Yeah? You could actually, we use this particular sequence to make a motivation assessment. If you remember, if you visited previous webinars, so we ask 5 questions. You see that at the top we could ask, well, you would like to have certain particular outcome. So how desirable that outcome is from 1 to 10, let's say. So they tell you some number. Or what do you think? Is it possible to reach that outcome? You see that who knows that behavior will lead to this particular outcome or not. It would be interesting to check if our client believe that behavior will lead or not. Is it really possible? So that's another question which you could ask. Or you could investigate, well, it seems like we need to, or client need to generate certain particular behavior. Let's discuss how ecological that behavior is for our client. So the number of questions about ecology. Is it appropriate, that particular behavior or not? So we could investigate that particular area. Then we could move, well, he knows that that behavior need to be kind of executed, or he's supposed to produce that kind of behavior, but is he capable? So it's not about ecology, it's about capability. Yeah, it's maybe there is no enough skills for that, or maybe he believes it's not capable. He's not capable. So that area, capability, is here between person and behavior. That could be also doubts. Yeah, another number of questions and discussions. And eventually we are going also to discuss like a highest level, identity level. So like who is responsible, and if he worth to reach his outcome. So it's about person-centered. You see that that particular structure, which if you close your eyes, you could instantly see person need to generate behavior which lead to outcome. Wow. Now we have practically, we could conduct session just based on that structure. And you don't need to tell to your client that you have that particular structure in your mind. You could just have a talk. Okay, tell me, John, how desirable that actually that particular outcome which you would like to have is from 1 to 10. And do you think it's really possible? I mean, and for what period of time you are assigning for that possibility? Or so it's just normal talk, but behind that talk, you could see in your mind's eye that particular structure. So that's how we let's move. I show you a few more structures which easily can be applicable for our coaching sessions. Let me just clear the. And several times I did that motivation assessment. It's a really lots of clients are very happy to go through the process. And the good thing about this particular structure that if some of the you could evaluate each particular question. How desirable is it possible? I mean, how good or how congruent you feel when you're gonna behave this particular way? Or what do you think? Are you capable? What is your capability from 1 to 10? So as soon as you have numbers, you could it could instantly demonstrate you or indicate where potential problematic areas are, where limiting beliefs may be hiding. I mean, for example, if your client gives 10 here, 6 here, 5 here, maybe, or 9 here. I don't know. Sorry, I'm making with my mouse. It's not really very comfortable to write. But you could see already, okay, this is actually probably there are some limiting beliefs in those areas, so we need to dig deeper. And if those numbers are quite high, okay, maybe that's more or less good. So as a result, even that particular very simple way kind of assessment, very simplistic assessment, nevertheless, it could give you lots of information. So you know where to search for some hidden limiting beliefs. Yeah, that's quite simple approach as well. Guys, if you have, okay, Irene, I usually ask what happened during the time we didn't met enough to catch. Is there more energy? I work with the client depending on, yeah, exactly. Guys, if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask me, and but I will be going on and on with other structures which we covered last time. Let me just close quickly. Okay. So yeah, another structure, again, one of the, like I think 1 month ago, we also discussed this particular structure. It was in relation to procedure, chaining pattern. Chaining, I mean, if your client has certain particular belief, you could change that belief to another one. And the way we do it usually in NLP using one of the ways, there are many ways, but one of the ways is chaining, belief chaining technique. And again, this is the initial belief. Let me just use my drawing again. Yeah, the initial belief, as soon as your client state his limiting belief, and then we ask them, okay, what kind of belief you would really love to have here? So it would be really empowering and powerful. And then we create some multiple shifts or changes, and we move our client chaining from initial belief to the new one, using by the way some reframing patterns. If you remember, in the first step we use redefine patterns, and then positive intention patterns, and so on, so on. So again, right now we covered that material with the 2 webinars kind of several months ago. I just want to remind you that again, it's kind of structure. So it could be easily used as a structure for your coaching session. And again, you see that again, we have starting point, we have destination point, and we have number number steps between, and we use certain particular resources, in those steps. So it's more or less, again, some kind of sequential move. So it is a structure. But in this particular case, we are working also with states. So usually our client in the beginning was in frustration, and then we slowly shifting. First, we are pacing client where he is, and then moving towards actually quite positive state, as you can see. Motivation to learn. That's where our client ends as a result. And this is pretty much the structure. And to be honest, some of the structures can be used not just inside of the one session. It could be, the structure can be used for the number of sessions. So it's not necessarily you need to squeeze everything in one session. So again, this particular material, if you would like to have a clarity about that, please take a look on our previous recordings, because usually I send you a link to all our previous recordings. I think it's somewhere in YouTube. It's a playlist, and in your email with the recordings, you will have access to the previous recordings. You could find the chaining technique. Yeah, it's again one of the structures. And let me just go very briefly, because why I'm not clicking? I'm clicking. Okay, now it works. Sorry, my mouse. Well, another structure is based on the meta structure of beliefs. It's one of the previous first webinars. So when we are checking, the whole belief supposed to have, if we really elicit the whole belief statement, usually it has certain particular parts. And the parts is supposed to be cause, or value, or criteria, and consequences. So as a result, the usually three parts related to cause or evidence, and we call it like a, let me just again using drawings, two types of connections. Inside of belief, we have here cause-effect connection, or meaning type of connection. So it means that one leads to another, or one mean another. So if someone tells you, well, I don't know, I am a bad driver, so it's not really a whole belief. So we need to ask several types of questions. We need to elicit the whole belief system, like a whole belief statement. So what do you think is the cause of that you're a bad driver? And if you're a bad driver, what does it really mean to you? So if I am bad driver, then what? So as soon as we have the whole statement where there are two parts, cause-effect part and meaning, we call it complex equivalence part, then we could say, yeah, that's a belief statement. And that's where, again, the part of your coaching session could easily be based on that particular investigation when you are digging for belief. And I also explained in the previous webinars that belief never travels alone. So there are a number of beliefs around it. Usually beliefs, they're like hiding in clusters. So it's not just one belief. You need to, and there are ways how we are eliciting clusters as well. Also, we covered that in the previous webinars. And that particular type of session could be really nice structured. And when you are investigating the whole belief system of your client, it's actually could be pacing part of your small session, or you could devote the whole session to the investigation. Yeah. So that could easily have as a structure of your session. So let's now jump to actually to material which we covered yesterday, not yesterday, previous webinar. So this is, yeah, we covered SCORE material. Just gonna remind you very quickly what SCORE is. So symptoms, causes, outcomes, resources, and effects. SCORE is brilliant. I really like that particular pattern. So someone says, well, I have this particular problem, it bothers me. And so immediately, if you have in your mind score pattern, so the first thing you could say, well, it seems like, yeah, it's clear that you have a problem. So let's go and check how that problem really manifests itself. So how do you know you have a problem? And now, and we are already investigating the mind map of your client, because you are going and you are checking the symptoms of the problem. So the most noticeable and conscious aspect of presenting problem. Yeah. So that's it's already pacing part of your session. It could take a while to discuss the symptoms. Your client's description of the problem. And then simple question, go into the causes. So what do you think is the reason? Why? Again, it's still pacing part. Again, it's kind of interconnection. At least we are checking your client's understanding or your client's mind map in relation to this problem. So what do you think is the cause? As it actually reminds me, if you remember, I just said that when we are checking for the whole belief statement, we always asking here, what is the cause? So belief usually have three parts. Yeah? So, and that's what is the cause. You see, it's right here. There is a symptom or evidence, which is here, and there is a cause, which is here. So we are going for, okay, let me clear it. We ask for symptoms, we go in for causes, and then, okay, now it's clear where you are and your kind of interconnections which you see. So how would you like to be different? So what do you think would be the resolution or your destination point? Let's say your problem disappeared. How it's going to look like when the problem just disappeared? So what kind of outcome you would like to have? Amam, we are jumping into the future to the destination point and going for the description of the arrival point. And Ken, now again, you see that we investigated where he is. Now we are going into the where he would like to be. And of course, what we'll be doing next? Resources. So in order to make that journey from here to here, obviously we need to add some resources. So let's discuss resources then. That's a very simple structure, but you see that well, you don't even need to tell your client that what you're going through any particular structure. It's just a talk. And when you investigate it, what resources does he has right now? Does he have? And or maybe he has a lack of certain particular resources. It's good to discuss what kind of resources generally needed and what he already has. So that's particular resource talk. And then it's interesting part also, I think that's what I like about SCORE, that we also discuss effects. I think it's really powerful stuff. Effects is out of this particular picture. It's actually future pacing over there. So if he has certain particular outcome, like he, let's say, resolved the problem, how it's going to affect his future. So it's one of the powerful ways to increase motivation, because when we demonstrate how that particular goal will integrate into the much long-term goals or bigger picture goals or connected with other things, that particular goal will immediately increase in terms of power or energy. It's going to be the client will be much higher motivated, because that particular goal is not just hanging somewhere in the air. It's connected to other plans. It become integrated. It become kind of more powerful. It makes sense. And so that effects, we are asking, well, let's say when you reach that goal, how it's going to influence this or that, how it's going to influence your life in many different aspects. Let's discuss this. It's almost kind of future pacing thing, but on a bigger picture, on long term. So that's how score button works. Easily you could conduct the whole session just having in mind the score button. No matter what problem, what issue your client bring on the table, you just apply score. So symptoms, causes, outcomes, resources, and effects. And it would be very, I would say, nicely conducted session. And one thing which I like about structure, me personally, well, I think that clients, majority of clients, they like to feel that they are, you know, dealing with the expert. I mean, I totally enjoy those spontaneous sessions, spontaneous talks, but I think it's nice at least time to time to not to demonstrate, but to make our clients feel that they are in a good hands. Because not everyone is like, okay, we talked about this, about that, so I'm not even sure. It's like when it become completely spontaneous, it's become, I understand there are some therapies, there are some, when people are coming to therapists and just talk, and therapists just kind of nodding, kind of, yeah, okay, maybe some asking some questions, but it's like a non-directional kind of type of therapy, but usually people takes like years, you know, to go anywhere, because it's just, they just, you know, talking, and they have someone to listen to, which is a huge therapeutic effect. But we are a little bit more, not aggressive, but if you would like to reach certain particular results and people are results oriented, not therapy oriented, but results oriented, I think it's nice to have certain particular structure, because they will perceive you more like a specialist. When you go to some, I don't know, any kind of professional, and usually you expect like, okay, he knows what to do. Of course, in the coaching, a little bit different, because we are not supposed to tell them what to do, but in a way, we could create a structure in our work, so our client still feels that you're professional. So you have a certain particular kind of idea where we are going. Yeah? So yeah, of course it's different for everyone, but in my experience, usually maybe it's because of human evolution. People see expert, they actually expect sometimes even you tell them what to do, even though we are not permitted in using our coaching methodology, which we probably normally we explain it in the beginning, but nevertheless, somewhere subconsciously, lots of clients, they really want to be told. But, yeah. Anyway, so we are here on a slippery kind of slope, and we need to be careful in terms of. But I think the structure, it's not necessarily that we are telling them what to do. We are just, you know, more or less having certain particular direction. Yeah. So eventually we are investigating certain particular areas, and there is nothing wrong that there is a sequence of areas which we would like to investigate. Yeah, I think that's at least my perspective on that. And as for today's topic, let's go through another really powerful, I think it's one of my favorite patterns. Let me clear drawings. And I call it, yeah, actually in NLP, it's well known as a well-formed outcome. Yeah, that's the one. And after I graduated from NLP courses, it was 2 years we were studying NLP, and I decided to summarize, put together all questions which I supposed to or ask my clients if I move them through well-formed outcome pattern. And as you can see, it's quite a number of questions I supposed to ask. Yeah, I will send you later that PDF file. But after some thinking, I was yeah, how am I supposed to remember that stuff? I mean, it's really strange to have. When I work with my client, I prefer be 100% with them. So I really don't want to be distracted or open some PDF files, and I really don't like that particular way of working with clients. So I created structure which helps me easily remember those questions. So, and usually when so this picture is like very detailed. That's where I started. So I decided to chunk up, chunk up, chunk up. So in order to create some kind of meta structures which are higher, which probably my purpose was to, in order to remember well without any PDF files in front of me, the whole well-formed outcome pattern, all those questions, at least those areas. So I started to think, okay, I need to chunk up and create like a big chunk perspective. So I came up with this particular pattern or abbreviation. That's my kind of invention. I call it SSS. Yeah? And what it really means is, first of all, when client comes and try to formulate his problem, or we could also say when he formulates the problem, we also turn it upside down and ask, okay, what would you like to have, yeah, or what do you want eventually? So formulate the problem or to state their goal, that we could also say that. So we need to work on that statement. It's really important that the statement is correct, and I will explain what does it mean to be correct. But anyway, the first is to state, yeah, the problem or the goal. Then to start movements towards that, and then you need to support your client after he already stated, he started, so support, so he will arrive to the destination. So state, start, and support, those 3 S. Yeah, this is my big kind of picture on that well-formed outcome. So for me to state, start, and support, easy to remember, really easy. It's not a big deal. So I don't need to have any PDFs in front of me. And then let's say, what does it mean to state? So here we go. So in order to state outcome to be well-informed outcome, we need to cover 3 particular points. First of all, we need to state it positively. So there are a number of questions you could ask. Yeah, what do you want? Yes, but what that will do for you? Yeah, and or why do you want it? So we are already connecting it to the future. So we need to be the first questions about statement. We are trying to discuss with our client what he really wants and where he would like to arrive. Yeah? So this is the first part of statement, the first S. Yeah? Then we will be working with the client in order to make that statement sensory specific. How? Well, you could see in front of you a number of questions which you don't need to ask all of them, but at least say, okay, so when you are there, so how would you feel, for example? Or tell me, explain, describe me what will you see when you are in that destination point, that your outcome point. So there are a number of questions which make that particular point much more tangible. We are talking about sensory specific. How will you know that you are there? How you will recognize that you are at destination point? As people say, I want to have business. Well, what does it mean? How do you know you have business? I mean, I have clients. How many? One? You have one client. Do you have business? No, not really. Well, how many? So it seems like almost, well, simple questions, but they make their goal much more specific just because we are following certain particular pattern, yeah? Structure. So those are questions will make their destination point much more sensory specific, because we are going for what you hear, what you see, and what do you feel, and so on. If he can smell something, it would be also very nice. If his outcome point smells differently. Yeah? Anyway, so and the last one, specific in terms of time, place, and so on. So contextualized. Yeah? And again, we could ask questions. Yeah? When, where, and with whom do you want it, or you don't want it? and for how long. I mean, there are lots of questions, again, related to context. Yeah? So as a result, this particular stated specific, that's what will be in terms of time and place. Yeah. So as a result, you see that we already covered 3 areas: stated positively, or sensory specific, or specific in terms of context. You see, there are 3 things, and each of those 3 have certain number of questions, and all of it related to state the outcome. So it's still part number 1. You could already have the whole session really just based on that particular part, to state correctly. But it's, if you go down to the rest of the pattern, the second part will be to start. Well, let's see what's inside. Next question, when everything already formulated, you could ask your client, can you start now? Yeah, so it's very simple. What resources do you already have? Because if you do, so what stops you to start now? So discuss that starting point, what he has, what he doesn't. Yeah, that would be a first part. The second one is, what is your first step to start, or next step? So we were talking about move him, create some kind of initial impulse from that starting position. So we are moving first step or second step, or discuss them some sequence of steps, checking the resources. Maybe he has everything what he needs. If he doesn't, we need to check it all. Also, we need to be aware what he doesn't. So the second will be designing the first steps, and also the third part is just checking what similar did you do in the past. By the way, it's one of the classical resources, because if someone did something already in the past which can be used now, that's a resource. And very often people just forget that they did maybe not exactly, but something similar, or maybe from some different areas, which they can easily use as a resource. They usually don't remember unless you ask them a question. Did you do something similar? Or do you know someone who did? Can you model it? And so we are talking about that particular, again, now we're still discussing start, in order to move forward, to get some kind of momentum. You see the number of topics for your coaching session and conversations. You could invent lots of questions in those areas. It actually would be conversation about starting. Again, and the third part of that structure, well-formed outcome, is to support them along the way up to the end of their journey. So the first question, or number of questions, is, it's very actually powerful and important stuff. The positive byproducts. You see the number of questions you could ask. What do I get out of my present behavior that I would wish to preserve? Well, very often people, if you are not really digging, usually people have a perception that, I want to change my life, and somehow it implies that everything what is now is bad, and everything what will be there in destination point is good. And actually, it's never like this. It's never. It's just when people are in denial and want to move forward, they usually do not pay attention that lots of stuff which they have now in that particular point, present point, which of course they would like to kind of get away from, but there are lots of things positive. And we need to make it clear, do you really want to get rid of everything what you have? Or maybe you would like to preserve something? So that clarity actually helps a lot, in order to move people forward, because in the future destination point, it's also going to be not everything nicely and positive. Maybe there will be some negative aspects. So that kind of clarification of that stuff is really important, because subconsciously people could sabotage themselves, because maybe subconsciously they see those negative elements in the future. That's why they're not moving forward. Or maybe they are not aware of positive elements which they're going to lose. So number of questions about byproducts. If they would like to preserve some positive ones, yeah, we need to discuss it. And so on, so on, yeah. So this is the byproducts question. And another, to get a new ones, the positive byproducts in the future. So again, what else in your life will improve when you get that, yeah, your outcome? What will I get out of doing this? So focusing on investigating byproducts, that's going to be, again, that's what will be included in your support talk. And also, as I told you, not everything is around you where you are is positive. There are some negative ones, and in the future could be as well. Would there be any undesirable byproducts there or along the way? It is really important that they're aware of that, because people are sabotaging and not moving forward very often because they haven't made it clear what they don't want there, and that's what stops them. That as soon as something is hidden and not clear, it has a power over us or over our clients. That's why those clarifying talks is extremely important, because when something is clear, even if it's negative, you could design the plan how to change it or eliminate it or create some kind of strategy around it, or at least you could deal with that. As soon as it's hidden, well, it's out of your reach, yeah? And that's why it has power over you. You just, for whatever reason, somehow you're not moving forward and you have no idea why. So that's why that we need to really pay attention to clarification, and bringing light, in all those tiny, small, kind of dark corners, yeah, or like a blind spots. So as a result, guys, you see that right now we moved through, yeah, the last one is ecology check. It's again, ecology check has two aspects, yeah, and you could discuss cost or time, or is the person will be totally okay from on an identity level. Maybe he doesn't see himself doing certain things. It's a classical ecology checking kind of talk, yeah? Because it's always cost. I mean, not maybe financial, but in terms of energy, in terms of time, in terms of efforts, in terms of, there is always cost, and everything what people would like to do takes time. So again, there could be easily some sabotage or some procrastination because people don't really want to spend as much, And also external relationship, when people are there, so what kind of consequences is going to be? There are a number of questions here which you could read it through right now on your screen. I don't need to. Does my outcome fit in with what other people maybe want, in their lives? Because it's not just about us. You have family, you have people around, and who knows if you're reaching certain particular outcome, who knows how it's going to influence others. So let's investigate that also. It could be another area of sabotage and procrastination or resistance. Yeah? Does it respect like integrity of other people involved, and so on, so on. So you see, there are so many questions, and it's all structure of well-formed outcome. This is the structure of support talk, and as you can see, state, start, and support. I calculated, I think it's around, I don't know, I think 30-something questions. Isn't it a coaching session by itself? I mean, in each particular area, you could have, when when you start working with clients, it's deviating. There are other things. It's not like you're going through precisely those questions. So it's that particular material, SSS, state, start, and support, could easily, material for 2 or 3 sessions in terms of questions. Guys, does make sense? Sorry, today's session as a result was not really very interactive. I'm talking mostly by myself, but is it more or less clear the whole idea of the structure using well-formed outcome? I mean, in terms of SSS, it's just my invention because I wanted to remember like a little bit in a bigger picture where I'm moving, like through what stages I'm moving people kind of through. But of course, you could go just and try to remember the whole well-formed outcome, but a little bit more difficult because it's just huge kind of number of questions, yeah. And it seems like it doesn't have any structure. It's lots of different pieces. But for me, I prefer to have a little bit more, again, in my head, a little bit more structured system to follow. And when I work with the clients, they don't really usually even see that particular structure. Okay. Well, it seems like today just several minutes left, so there is no way we could conduct any sessions. My idea was to practice, and by practice I mean someone will be coach, someone will be coachee, and you will try to go through the structure, and we all will be listening, and we will be noticing what you are doing. So let's do it in this case next Thursday. So I'm gonna send you the material. I'm gonna send you PDF of this recording. And if you will be able to join our next Thursday session, we will be just practicing. So there will be no theory. Today, there were new people and we couldn't really. So right now, I already at least explained everything, and I will post that recording to everyone, and I will not, warn everyone that guys, please watch recording first because on next Thursday we will be just practicing. So it will be practice session. Guys, is it okay? Everything is clear? If it is, let me know or let me clarify if you have any questions. Okay, perfect. Yeah, in this case, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. And we see each other next Thursday. So you could expect recordings and PDF file with presentation. And if you can attend next Thursday, it would be nice because we will be practicing. Okay. Thank you, Alexandra, Andrea, Deborah, Irene, John, Olivia. Nice to see you and see you next Thursday then. Yep. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye.